Welcome to Know Who, Know What, Grow. Today we're going to help you align your team and accelerate your success with the Who, What Builder. I invite you to ask yourself, have you ever wondered if your company is solving the problem your customer feels most, or just the one you think they have? When a potential customer discovers your business, do you want them to instantly recognize themselves and say, "That's me, I need it"? Would you love for every person on your team to know in one powerful sentence exactly who you serve and what you solve? And most of all, are you ready to serve with even more heart, even more precision, even more impact? Because you know exactly who needs you and your company and exactly how you can help. So stop for a moment and imagine the power of having a clear way to speak about who you are and what your company brings so that authentic customers are able to identify themselves, say yes easily, effectively, and profitably. So today we are going to focus on a tool that's going to help you do just this. We're going to help you define three important concepts that can be used over and over and over again. And over time, you can continue to refine them as well. But today we'll develop a draft of the first version. And then you'll be able to use our tool today, the Who, What Builder, which you can use again and again to help you refine. So you're going to define who your customer is. And this is a clear description of who you're meant to serve, your authentic customer, including some psychographics and demographics that will help you identify who they are and help them define that they are one of your authentic customers. The second thing you're going to define is what your customer needs. So 3 core problems or desires your customer needs your company to solve, including wants, needs, desires, challenges, and points of pain. And again, we're going to distill it down to 3 within this section. And then you're going to put it all together into a easy to remember and reusable statement that not just you are going to use as the founder, but everybody on your team will find their own ability to language this out. So a simple declarative short statement that articulates who you serve and what they need. It speaks to the unique value of your company and brings you to your unique customers. So today in this workshop, you're going to use this Who What Builder. So you can download it at forceforgood.biz/weekly tool. It's available through May 4th on that site for free. And then you'll be able to define 3 things: who your customer is, what your customer wants, who, what statement. And then 1 new habit that will help you every week install more connection to your customer. And 2, 1 specific action you could take in the next week that can really move this whole idea forward. So if you haven't already, be sure to download the Who What Builder at forceforgood.biz/weekly tool. Okay, so why this is important. What will this give you? It's going to give you magnetic clarity. All right, so contemplate this for a moment. Magnetic clarity on who your customer is, not just for you, but for everyone in your company. So this is going to give everyone power and language to be able to speak clearly. Aligned growth. A crystal clear who, what statement gives your entire team a shared focus. Marketing, sales, product, and service all are pulling in the same direction, multiplying your growth with less friction. The next one is easier, more joyful selling, because you are going to become less product focused and more customer focused. And when you become customer focused in this way, it becomes more fun to sell because now you're not selling, you're just serving. So sales stop feeling pushy or hard. Instead, it feels like offering a beautiful, desirable solution to help someone who already knows that they need what you have because your words resonate at the level of their desires and their soul. The next reason, the fourth reason, is because it can help you build stronger brand loyalty. When you know your who, when you know your what, and when you can articulate the who and what together, your customers feel that you and your company, everyone in your company, truly understands them. They don't just buy, they bond. They return, they refer, and they advocate for your company, your brand with genuine love. The next reason it's good to know your who what statement, number 5, is smarter and faster decisions. Should you launch a new product? Should you shift your pricing? Should you expand into a new market? With a clear who what statement, strategic decisions become faster, more confident, because you and everyone on your team is deciding through the lens of who you're here to serve and what most critically they need from your company. The next reason number 6, is higher impact innovation. Now, this one I love. When you deeply understand and you dwell for days and weeks and months and years in who your customer is, and you have a clear picture of who they are and what they need, your customers' real world challenges and dreams and hopes become the source of innovation and ideas for your company. Your company can innovate in ways that truly matter, creating offerings that are not just new, but needed. The last reason is, and there's many more, but the last reason we'll discuss is renewed energy and purpose. We're always needing relief from exhaustion and burnout and struggle and strife. So this becomes another source of energy and purpose. Running a business without a clear focus on who your customer is and really a personal, deep set understanding of the pain you're helping them solve, the relief you're bringing to them, it's exhausting. So a who, what statement reconnects you quick, fast, easy, simple, and your team to the original heart of why you started the company, breathing fresh energy, passion, and meaning into your everyday work. So, in short, your who what statement isn't just a marketing exercise, it's a source of alignment, acceleration, and authentic impact. Isn't that fun? I just love that. Okay, so moving on to the next topic. Let's talk about some examples of this so it can become real for you. So we want to help you, like one of my favorite companies, Rebellious Foods. Check them out online. Founded by this extraordinary, wicked, smart woman named Christy Lagali. I write about her in my book because she just blows me away. I interviewed her on the Wisdom of Women show. And what they are a plant-based food technology company. So they're reinventing how food is made. The plant-based chicken is where they're starting. And so who they are serving. So they focused their business initially and now, and they're growing very, very quickly. They just completed a $9 million capital raise. I think it was a Series A. And who they sell to is in bulk. They want to make big impact. So they sell to schools, hospitals, and other food source buyers. And they are places that value affordable, scalable, plant-based program, plant-based protein. And they're motivated, these buyers are motivated by sustainability and public health. So they care about sustainability and public health. That's who their customer is. See how it's boom, boom, boom. 3 important aspects of who they are. So now I know where to find them. I'm looking for schools, I'm looking for hospitals and other food service buyers. So then what do they need? Okay, in the case of Rebellious Foods, these customers need institutional grade plant-based products. So it has to be at a level and a quality that can be produced and used at an institutional level. So you're feeding hundreds of people every day. It's got to work for that. It's got to have easy preparation. It has to be competitively priced. So it can't be like super expensive like most plant-based food is. And they need a partner in sustainable food and innovation. So they want to keep being able to provide this and over time expand their product offerings from chicken nuggets to chicken patties to being able to have other types of offerings as well. So who and what? So their who what statement sounds like this. We serve institutional food providers who want affordable, scalable, plant-based solutions that support people and the planet. Okay, so this is the example. This is what we're going to work towards today for you to come up with who your customer is and have 3 nice bullets about who they are, so that now we're thinking about who they are, and we're not thinking about who everybody is. We're thinking about who your target customer is, your authentic customer right now. And then you're thinking about specific core needs and then putting it together in a who, what statement. Next, okay. So in another masterclass series, we have another exercise and another tool that we use, and it's called the authentic customer experience. And it helps us build an authentic customer avatar. Now, if you may have participated in that masterclass before. And today we are going to reference the authentic customer when we go through and do this exercise. So you don't need to have already done that work, although I highly recommend that you go back and do it. You can get it by, you can get the tool itself by going to aforceforgood.biz/book and picking up the book. You'll see that there's a whole chapter 5, that's dedicated to the authentic customer concept. But who your authentic customer is a fictional character. So we talk about her in the book. We talk about how we had Janet was one of our authentic customers at Illume healthcare company. She was a mother of 3 children, her youngest child being a child who was in the hospital, just born at 26 weeks rather than the regular 40 weeks. And the child had been in the hospital for many months and was ready to come home from the hospital and needed at-home nursing. And she had 2 other children who were under the age of 5, and she was a single mom. So this is the authentic customer we dedicated pretty much all of our marketing, so much of our focus. So we were bringing this family, this child and the mother, home from the hospital and bringing her home and making sure she had what she needed with nursing care at home to serve her. So see how we're talking about an authentic customer. It's a fictional character. It's someone you make up that has a whole life and story beyond just the things you're going to serve. You know, part of her worries and concerns, or that she's worried that she's not going to be able to go to work, and she's got to go to work because what happens if the nurse calls out, or what happens if the child gets sick? So there's a lot that you take in when you start to see your authentic customer avatar as a human being. You start to become more aware. So we're going to use that idea today in the exercise of a fictional character that you're going to put in your mind as you answer the questions that are part of of today's Who What Builder. And your authentic customer avatar will inspire the who they are, the what they need, and the who what statement. And these new items will help us create clarity and specificity that you can put then in front of your team. And so you're going to have a story, and then you'll have bullet points of who they are, what they need, and a clear way to articulate it. So together, you are empowered with some really incredible messaging and storytelling and narrative to help you dwell in who your customer is and why you want to help them and in what ways you really can, what's most important to them. So all of this is going to fit within the Force for Good system, which we like to all have summarized on the 4-page growth plan. Again, this is another one of the tools of the Force for Good system. You can pick this up at a forceforgood.biz/weekly-tool. It's free there all the time. You can grab it. And so today, you see it has 4 pages, and you can see on the first page, we have this section, Know Who You Serve. So at the top, we have Know Your Purpose, and we have master classes on each of those concepts. And then the second part is the Know Who You Serve. And so specifically, there's 3 boxes under the authentic customer section. There are 3 boxes on the 4-page plan: who they are, what they need, and the who, what statement. So you're going to take what you get today and put it right there on the 4-page growth plan. And that's going to help you see not just, in the context of your customer, but it's also going to be important because it will also help you really, your purpose and, your inception story and your 10-year impact goal. All these things are going to be intertwined. You'll also see as you start to go on the other pages that who they are, what they need, what services you provide, what products you provide, how you go to market, as well as your 10-year plan, your impact plan. All of this will be very, very driven by who they are, what they need, and the who, what statement. All right, keeping on, we're going to go to the Who, What Builder. And so I'm going to walk you through this exercise. And as I do, you can just start to write these elements down. If you have the Who, What Builder in front of you, by all means, write your answers down on the paper of the Who, What Builder, and then you can keep it and refer to it. I encourage, this is one of those tools that's good to do on a regular basis. It's also a great exercise to do with different members of your team. It could be part of a town hall. This is going to help people really dwell in the customer. It's just a good one to refer back to. So we're going to go through these 4 steps in the Who, What Builder. We're going to discover who they are, the who being your customer, your authentic customer. Then you're going to focus on specific problems and desires. And then you're going to select out the 3 bullet points, who they are, and 3 bullet points of what they need. And then you're going to use a Mad Lib to help you craft your who, what statement and test it against some questions. And you'll be able to then have your draft of the who, what statement, which you can put on the 4-page plan. All right, let's get right into it. So let's get into discovering who they are. Okay, so here I invite you to go ahead and imagine that you could see your authentic customer avatar and imagine them in your presence. If you've not done the exercise before, just imagine a fictional idea of a person you would serve and give yourself permission to sort of say, who are they? What's their name? How old are they? And get to know them as a person. And we're going to start to describe your authentic customer in this exercise. And it's going to help you, right? So even though maybe you're selling a product that goes to consumers and we're going to ask you about their career, it could be that, that this person you come up with happens to be a bookkeeper, but it could just as well be somebody, it could also be a hairdresser, right? So it doesn't matter. What we're doing right now is we're digging in to find what's really core about who they are and what's core about what they need. All right, so don't overthink it. Let's just imagine, all right? So let's go ahead into this authentic customer avatar and describe where might they live and what are their circumstances. So think about where they live, not just physical location, although that could matter depending on your company. Where they live, what kind of neighborhood, do they live in an apartment? Do they live in a house? Do they live in a 2-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house? So are they living close to water? Are they far from the water? What are their circumstances? What's their environment like? So just imagine what their circumstances and environment might be like and write those things down. The next thing you want to think about is what's their family like? Are they married? Are they single? Do they have children? Are they do they have a special do they have like a boyfriend or girlfriend or a partner? Um, or maybe they are a younger person and they're close to their families and they live at home with their families, or maybe they are an elderly person and they live alone and they live in a assisted living situation. So where do they live and who's in their life? Who do they spend time with? To find those relationships. What do you notice about those relationships? What's working in those relationships? What's challenging in those relationships? So just start to understand their life. Understand their life. And notice their health, right? Notice what their health might be like. Is this a person who is in great physical condition and runs marathons twice a year and goes to the gym every day? Or is this somebody who, likes to watch a lot of television and, occasionally goes for a nice walk, spends a lot of time indoors? Or is it something in between, right? Like, what does this person, what is their health like? Are they struggling with a particular health challenge? Do they wish their body was different in some way? Do they wish their health was different in some way? What's any core challenges you might imagine this person is experiencing? So think about their health, their well-being. Think about their mental health, their stress, their anxiety. What are those places in their life where they might have a lot of well-being and then other places where they might not? So just dwell in what's possible for your customer, what's going on for them, and what are those triggers of stress? What are those things that are causing them health challenges? Is it because they can't afford to buy great fresh food, or is it because they have diabetes and they're struggling with that, or they live somewhere where they don't have access to good healthy food? So allow yourself to understand their circumstances of their well-being. And also look to see what is their career? What's their livelihood? Are they a stay-at-home mom? Are they a stay-at-home dad? Are they someone who is, a CEO of a company? Are they an investor? Are they traveling around for their career? What do they do? Are they a 9-to-5er? Do they work nights? Are they in a restaurant? So what are they doing for their career? And what does that look like? And what's important in their career? What's important to them? How do they feel about their career? Are they happy about their career? Do they like it? Do they dislike their career? Are they sort of stuck with it? Like, what's their relationship to their career? So write down, this is your customer, what you imagine for this authentic customer avatar, what they are going through with their life and their career. And what about their finances? Is your authentic customer someone that has abundance galore, or are they struggling, or are they living on a budget, or are they very, very month to month, or maybe they're on social services support, maybe they're on Medicaid, maybe they're getting support from some other way. Maybe they're a volunteer and would like to make more, but they're not. Maybe they're a startup founder and they're struggling to make ends meet. What does their finances look like? Are they trying to save money for something? Are they trying to buy a house? Are they having their first child and trying to save? Do they have a child who is going off to college and you're worrying about that? So allow yourself to see their circumstances. Do they have one home, multiple homes? Are they able to invest in the things they want? Are they cutting back on certain things? Are they unable to buy things because they have a budget that they're focused on? Or maybe they've lost a job recently, or maybe their spouse has, or now they're down to one income. So understand what their financial situation is. And then think about what their interests are and their hobbies. So this this can oftentimes be really wonderful. What do they like to do? What are they interested in? What do they do for fun? Are they out in the world doing some kind of sport? Are they a knitter? Are they a reader? And are they a writer? Do they like to travel? Do they have an interest in wine or food? Or are they sober perhaps? And they're very involved in their sober community. So allow yourself to see their interests and hobbies. The magazines that they might pick up and read, the types of books that turn them on. Like, get yourself to understand and imagine who they are, and imagine them in their home. And what does the inside of their home look like? And how do they decorate their home? Imagine, is it sort of shabby chic, or is it more modern and bold, or is it traditional and lots of antiques? So get yourself really wrapped into who they are. Great. So then we can look at some more questions about who they are. What are their personal longings and goals? What are their personal longings and goals? What do they wish for? Again, maybe they're saving for a house, or they want to send their child to college, or maybe there's a summer program they want to send their child to, and they're saving up for that. Or swimming lessons, right? Maybe they want to go on a trip. So what are their longings and goals? Maybe they're building their company, or maybe they want some kind of an increase in their pay, or a advancement of kinds. Maybe they want to go back to school. What do they wish was different about their life? So now they're starting to move in here about what's getting in their way. So what do they wish was different? And again, think about all the areas of their life. What did they wish was different? Physically, health-wise, socially, relationship-wise. What did they wish was different? Financially, career-wise. And then write down, what do you notice is holding them back? What is holding them back? What are the worries, concerns? Maybe they are worried about something going on in the environment or in the economy. What's holding them back? Is there some kind of internal fear that you see happening? Is there worry they won't be able to work, or health? So what's holding them back? And what are their most important relationships? So think about who they are, who they care most about. Maybe it's their children, or their spouse, or their best friend, or their sister, or their mother. And what wishes and desires do they have for those relationships? What are those wishes and desires that they have for that child of theirs, or their mother that's in assisted living, or their husband or wife or spouse or friend? What wishes and desires do they have for them? And now let yourself see what keeps them up at night. What do they worry about with their family, their work, their relationships, their finances, their health? And think about what you offer as a company. Like, what are the things related to what you offer that keep them up at night, that actually wakes them up and makes them have serious concerns and worries and can't go back to sleep? And what would breathe joy into their life? What can you see would breathe relief, joy, hope? What would help them feel a sense of relief? Again, think about your company and the things you offer. And what about what you offer could bring them some joy? I mean, what would bring them joy? What would bring them relief? What would help them feel a sense of hope? And maybe it's something that's connected to your product. Maybe it's an outcome that comes from your product or service that gives them the freedom to go take their children to Disney World. Like, what is it they really, really are looking for? Maybe they don't have to work as much. Maybe work will be more pleasant. Maybe something that's hard can become easier. And then how could your product or service help them? And this is really where you reflect. on all the ways that your company could help them with their specific problems in the words that they use, right? So maybe your software company will make the life of a CFO or an accountant in the company easier. And it will help that accountant go from working 50 hours a week to working 40 and be able to make it to their kid's soccer game and not fight with their spouse about always being late. So, what will really help them? And maybe it will create more clarity and certainty and less worries about their boss or less worry about their job security. Make them look good in some way. In what ways could your company soothe and even heal them? Calm them down, bring them a sense of okayness, restore their faith, their fun, their life, their joy. So now you're really starting to move into what is my customer, who is my customer, and now I'm also starting to consider what they need. Then we go on and you ask yourself, in what ways could your company enrich and empower that authentic customer avatar? In what ways could your company enrich and empower them? See how it could enrich and empower their lives. Write down what you see. And in what ways could your company make receiving desired solutions more pleasant and easy? So now you're offering solutions. Is there something you could do, given what you know now, that could make it better and easier? An example that we came up with at Illume was when nurses come in for an interview. We want it to be really time efficient for them. We wanted to make it more comfortable. We know that what they want and need is to feel appreciated and valued. Also, it's every day is very burdensome, so we wanted to make it more fun and lighter. So we had cookies. We would serve warm cookies. We would warm up cookies so it smelled like cookies. And then when they did their interview, when they were leaving, we would give them cookies. So whether or not we offered them a job, they had this moment of pleasantry in going for a job interview by getting the smell of warm cookies and being delivered some warm cookies when they leave. So what could you do to improve the experience and make working with your company a little more fun, lighthearted, easy, pleasant? All right, and now we're going to move on to the second area here of the Who What Builder. It's part 2 is to focus on specific problems and desires. So here's where we're going to do a big brainstorm. I'm going to ask you, to sort of think about now. You've entered the mind of your customer. You've brainstormed a lot of their wants and needs, and you've also started to reflect upon your company, what you offer, your products and services. And you've probably noticed that some of your customer wants and needs can be addressed with the solutions your company offers. Well, probably many of the needs are not. So I can't necessarily make, a failing marriage come back together if I'm selling supplements. But I could possibly see that helping that person feel better physically and have better mental health could help them to deal with what they're dealing with their struggling relationship. So we want to start seeing that not all of your customers' needs that you wrote down can be solved by the company, but there are several that can. So which problems and desires can your company address or solve in some way, even if it is indirect? So I'll give you an example of what I mean. In my company, Illume, one of our really big, one thing that happens for families when you have a very special needs child living at home with you, if you don't have really good care and you don't have support, and it's just you and your spouse trying to take care of this medically fragile person, baby, child, it weighs heavily on your marriage. But when you have the support, then there's less stress, right? It also means both parents can go to work. It means that there's less likelihood they go bankrupt. So it directly affects their ability to work, directly affects their ability to not go bankrupt. It also helps with making sure that there's less stress on a marriage and a family. So these weren't directly delivered by in-home nursing, but they were very much a part of what we could help with. So I would include those on this list. But other things like the clinical well-being of the child, like that's something we directly can solve for. So list all the problems and desires your company contributes directly or indirectly to this customer and to your customers. And just write them down. What are these problems or desires? You're getting at the problems and desires that they have that are most important that your company wants to solve. And as you list those problems and desires, we're going to start to filter through them. And first, you're going to place a star, a single star, next to any of the problems and desires that your company addresses directly. So you can advertise for it, right? We're not going to advertise that we're going to keep you out of bankruptcy, but we can advertise that we'll give you high quality, dependable, reliable care. We can make sure we send people, only hire people that are gonna show up and know what they're doing. So, make sure that they're going to be there. Reliable care. And then you're going to think about those things that are to place 2 stars next to any of the problems and desires your company excels at addressing directly. So there'll be things that you do, maybe there's only 1 or 2 of these things that you do really, really well. And so you want to find out what those items are. And I wouldn't pick more than 3 of those, right? See if you can pick 3 items that you're really, really good at excelling at, directing. And so looking at the problems and desires with 1 or 2 stars, circle 3 that you feel are most deeply coveted or wanted by your authentic customer. Which desires are urgent and important to them? So now you've looked at everything that you directly, those things you do directly and you're good at. And now you're circling the ones, 3, you're circling 3 that your customer will really say, this is super important to me. It's my most important on this list of things that are directly provided by your company. All right, so just notice that, right? Because there might be things that you have 2 stores next to that just aren't that important to your customer. And it might mean that you need to focus more on some of the things that you directly address and maybe haven't given as much thought because you just didn't think about it before, or maybe that's where you need to innovate. Okay, so now just take a moment and be aware of what you've just discovered, and your brain is now starting to see more clearly who your customer is, what they need, right? And you'll be able to then come to this next page in the Who, What Builder, Part 3, articulate who they are and what they need. So here's where you just jump off and leap. Write down who they are, describing their key attributes. 3 short descriptive phrases to describe who they are. You can use demographics or psychographics, however you identify them. Mothers, parents of children waiting to come home from the hospital. We have a medically fragile child, right? Would be somewhere in line, for example. So who they are. So with a force for good, it's women founders with teams of 5 or more who have a product or service they would like to deliver to thousands or millions of people. And for them, purpose is important, just as important as profit. So these are 3 things, who they are. Now write down what they need. So this is where you're finding the things your customer most needs from you, your company. What's burning desire, urgent, important problems they have. So it's not a vitamin, it's a painkiller. It's 3 things that will give them hope, relief. The things that when we talked about them early on in the first section, part 1, the things that would bring them relief, hope, joy. It's the things that keep them up at night. So write down 3 things. Use short yet descriptive phrases to describe what they need. Clear, short, fewer adjectives, more succinct, just what is it they need. Okay, so you've got these new elements. You've got this, who they are and what they need, and you'll be able to put these on your 4-page growth plan. So congratulations. And now that you've articulated in 3 bullet points who they are and what they need, the next step is to craft your value proposition or who-what statement. Okay, so here's where we use a Mad Lib. We serve, and then who, and want, fill in the blank, right? We serve complex care, around the clock nursing patients who want reliable, remarkable care, nursing care in their home. All right, so that's what the who what would be for Illume. So what is yours? Go ahead and write it down. And what I invite you to do first is to write it down, do 5 different drafts. Try it out 5 times. And go ahead and draft those out for yourself, your who and what statements. So you'll know when you have a good who and what statement because it immediately will help a potential customer say, wow, that's me. Right? So the other way of saying this is if let's say you have a product that you know would be great for someone. And you said this who what statement, they would say, yes, that's me. If they wouldn't say it because it's still too vague or it hasn't really touched their nerve, they're still like, oh, that's a nice product. Oh, good luck with that. Then it really isn't a good who what statement. It has to be really clear about who they are and what that pain point is that they need or that desire that is so incredibly valuable to them that they need to get, right? So it needs to have that, wow, that's me reaction. Keep drafting. The second thing is that it immediately helps someone say, well, that's not me, but I know someone just like that. I know someone just like that. They'll say, oh my gosh, my sister, she has that need. You sound like you're talking about my sister. She exactly has that need. So it's got to be clear and specific, and it has to point to a pain that's so big that a person knows, yes, that's what she wants solved, or that's what she's dreaming and hoping of. And the third thing is it has to point to an urgent, important need. It's not an urgent, important need for you. It's not an urgent, important need that your product solves. It's an urgent, important need of your customer. Okay, this is not about what is beautiful about your product or great about your team. This is about your customer. All right, so you've got 5 drafts now. So much. Congratulations. The next thing is you are going to do it. You're going to go ahead and write down your who what statement. So give yourself a breath and do it. Write it down. Our who, what statement is, and go ahead and write it down. We serve, and write who we serve, and has this need for, and write down what that need is. All right, you did it. Super, super cool. Super amazing. This is so powerful. Now you've got 3 new elements that you can draw on. Clear who your customer is in 3 bullets, a clear what your customer needs in 3 bullets, and a succinct sentence of who your who and what is. And so big deal, big kudos to you. Congratulations on this. So now you have entered the mind of your customer, not the mind of your product or your company, but the mind of your customer. And you've lived in it for the last 30 minutes. You've revealed their deep longings and pain. And just notice what new pain, new longings you discovered about them today, their humanity, their life, their needs, and really what's important to them, and how you can become innovative in helping them solve those pains and those longings. You've aligned your company's energy with urgent, meaningful need, right? So this isn't just about the things that you're selling sort of over and over again without a lot of gusto. These are things that are urgent. You've created a clear 3 bullet point, who they are and what they need. And now you have a clear magnetic who, what statement. And you've reconnected to the purpose, power, and growth that's available for your company. So just acknowledge yourself for one, how this one little time, this 30-minute experience can help you really bust through, have a breakthrough, and see how to better serve your customers. And please be sure to go ahead and update your 4-page growth plan, who they are, what they need, the who, what statement on page 1. And now let's choose a habit. Let's invoke a new habit that allows you every week to do something that helps you focus on who they are, what they need, and the who, what statement. So a high leverage habit is a repetitive ritual that practice almost guarantees breakthrough results, putting in place clarity and thinking about what's most important, these incredibly important aspects of your customer. So what's a habit that would help you act on your new who, what clarity? What would that be? So some examples. You might begin maybe you have a weekly meeting. And at that weekly meeting, you could assign someone every week, different person every week, to restate and read the who, what statement. I actually love doing this, right? We do that also with our core purpose. It's a good one to do. So have Julia state the core purpose today, and Henry can read the who, what statement. So now you've got the core purpose marinated together with who you are serving and what they need. The other thing you could do is you could create sales messaging directly from a statement. So this is going to be repeating because every time you have a sales call, you're going to use that same messaging. You put it on the back of a business card, and then every time a business card is handed out, it's repeatable. You could use that statement to qualify new prospects. You could review it weekly to assure alignment in marketing. And you could update it as time goes on. You could make it part of your quarterly activity. It could be that you share a story once a week with your team that's about a customer who you were able to identify their who and what. So these are all ways to make your who, what part of the everyday activity in your business and infuses it into the company. You can also take a high potency action, a bold move that accelerates impact this week, a powerful action that will move things forward, ignite some momentum in the service of growth, growing impact, scale, and profit in your company. So every week, part of every tool we use is intended to help you increase, accelerate, propel impact, scale, and profit. So why these high potency actions matter is they catalyze breakthroughs. They're out of the norm. There's things that you don't do every week They help you create revenue spikes, industry shifts. They're routine operations that alone you'll never get there. But it's these one-time high potency actions that start to shift things. So I would say go to your website this week for sure. Update your website with your new who you serve, what they need, and the who what statement. So make it very clear. Think about all the places you could put it. Put it in your LinkedIn profile, put it in your pitch deck or sales pitch deck. Be sure to meet with your team, maybe host a town hall this week that talks about it and have a discussion or roundtable event with your team about it. And I would recommend highly that you create a 60-second video speaking the who what statement out loud and talking about the who they are, the what they need bullets, and distributing it. And throughout all your socials, put it out in the world so that it immediately starts to take flight. And use the statement to evaluate your current offers. Look at your current products and services, your customer service, all of your customer-facing operations, and see how can this statement, this new awareness, help you be better at what you do so that it resonates more profoundly and really offers even better solution to your customer. So today we learned how to use the How What Builder tool. We defined 3 core growth elements, who they are, what they need, and the who what statement. And now you've added these to your 4-page growth plan. And hopefully as you look at your 4-page growth plan, you think about the who what and who what statement, that you will start to make some adjustments, right? You'll see how together these all help you have deeper clarity. One thing triggers clarity in another. And also you identified a habit and a high potency action to take. So a lot. I'm so excited for you. So many good things come from this clarity. And as we continue on, be sure to look deeper at this idea of the who what. You can look at it if you have a copy of my book in chapter 6. Definitely read a little bit more about it there. When you get the book at aforceforgood.biz/book, you will receive the full toolkit, including the Who What Builder and all the other tools. And you'll see more clearly too how in chapter 6 this relates, the Who What Builder relates to the authentic customer and to everything else that we work on. There'll be instructions for each tool, and you'll get the full Force for Good system just by buying the book. I also recommend that you sign up for the tool of the week. This is free. And it's available at aforceforgood.biz/weekly tool. Every week we release a new tool with a masterclass. It's available for 1 week only. And then, it's your opportunity to digest and bring forth one growth tool to inspire into your company every week. And so when you sign up, you'll get an email every week that directs you to where it is and to the download. And the next step really is to join the Growth Accelerator. This is the most powerful way to implement the Force for Good system. And it's meant to help you do so efficiently and with your team. And so you install the full system of propelling high potential, exponential, high impact growth into your company. It covers the entire 4-page growth plan. You start out by actually creating a draft of the 4-page growth plan, and then working through each of the different elements and seeing how they play together. It's a 12-module online system, and you can do it alone or with your team. And there's tier pricing starting at $599, so very affordable. And the idea here is you install this in about 12 weeks time, typically, but you can do it however you want. There's a way to do it in 7 days as well. You can stack the modules and do them all at once. You can do them once a week, and some people like to do it once a month. And so it's up to you. There's also options within the accelerator to get some support, so you can get some guided support or one-on-one support as well. So aforceforgood.biz/accelerator, and this is your key to helping you really see the full benefit of the Force for Good system. So thank you for joining me today. And just always remember that the world is made better by women-led business. So let's go make the world